Do you think that your belief in reincarnation helps you to be brave?
We feel it helps us to do the right deeds, right things. To be brave is one of the good things, because you don't want, if you lose your mind to somebody, if you give in to something, then you have essentially lost your consciousness. You're not yourself anymore. So we believe in.
You just mentioned the magic word. What the Noetic science studies is consciousness.
It's conscious.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We believe that our conscience is what we should be honest to, no matter what it takes. That our prayers, our meditation, the chanting lead to a higher form of consciousness, which gets us closer to our Creator. And I know when you are singing hymns in a congregation, you feel ecstatic, right? You feel overjoyed. You feel something that makes your soul as if it is closer to the Creator. It gives you that certain euphoria. So we believe our singing of hymns when we are together and we are raising that conscious level to such a level that we are in a tune with God's consciousness. We are one with God.
Do you think that God is consciousness?
We feel that. We feel it's conscious. Because without conscious and without having a certain path of consciousness, you're nowhere. You're nowhere. You got to have that conscious clarity to believe, to pray. So consciousness is a big part in our faith.
I was wondering if you have a story that goes with reincarnation. In other words, when you pass away or you die, then what happens?
We believe that as you sow, so shall you reap. That whatever actions you have done in this world, if they have been such that the Creator, who is the ultimate judge, right? Who is the ultimate judge of what happens after life. That some people say you go to heaven or hell. I know there is a belief. We don't believe in such thing. We do believe in if you do good in this life, you will get a reward in this life and the next. But we do believe that the soul never dies. Soul transmigrates into different forms, different shells. Right now we are in a human body and we have that a good fortune that we can escape that cycle of births and deaths. We can pray and we can say, okay, we are united with God. We don't have to come into a different form of life anymore. But there is more emphasis of doing good in this life, so we get good in this life as well. Whatever happens in the after, I haven't seen it. Nobody's seen it. We can only go according to, I'm not a theologian. But we believe in doing good right in this life.
Well, another thing is, do you have a story or a belief that goes with how it is when you have evolved through all these reincarnations? What's it like then?
It's the thought process. It's like saying if you are if, for instance, you were thinking about money all the time, your mind was in the money, maybe you will become a banker in next life. Because
But what about when the life cycles are over? When you've grown or evolved or spiritually matured beyond the life cycles, you break free of that. What happens then?
We believe it just continues. It never ends.
So you are continually reborn throughout all time?
All time, unless you escape that cycle.
So that's what I'm asking about. What happens when you escape that cycle?
Then you are united with God. It's like we believe you are droplets of water and they will merge into the ocean and you become the ocean. You are no longer separate.
And so that's what is that experience? I think that's what she's asking too, is what is that experience like?
Okay.
Indescribable.
It's like you call nirvana, it's like you call
I want to give
communion.
it its best shot.
You have become one with God, you have become one with the Creator. There is no difference between you and the Creator. It is,
Okay.
you become
You
part
you
of the Creator.
become.
You know it when you feel it.
Yeah, yeah, you become the.
Some religions are very open to anyone from anywhere in the world becoming a part of the religion, like Islam or Buddhism or Christianity. Some, like I would imagine Shintoism, are not like that. I don't know about Shintoism very much. Where would you say that the Sikh religion falls in that? If you were not from a subcontinent cultural background, would you be welcome into the Sikh religion? And how many people actually have joined it?
Yeah, yeah. Now, you know, Sikhs believe a Sikh is not born. So there is no cultural, Sikh becomes a Sikh. He's not born. If I were, true, my dad happened to be a Sikh. So I grew up in that faith. And, but it doesn't have to be. Sikh is a more universal, culture is different and the religion is different. Faith itself is a universal faith, it can be anybody. And there are Sikhs from other cultures or other continents. There are many Americans who have adopted Sikh. In Espanola in New Mexico, you go, there is a temple, and it is mostly from Native Americans that they have adopted. And in Africa, where I grew up, there are certain places where you find Africans have adopted. So it's not that only from people from North India who are Sikhs. The faith itself is universal. There could be, like, people who come from north of India, maybe it's culturally a little different. They eat different food or something. So, but that's in any community, right? Christianity has gone into India. People sing hymns in their language, but they're essentially hymns from the Bible. So there has been some cultural effect. But as far as the faith is concerned, it's so universal. The Holy Scripture will never mention any particular culture. It's only about praise of God, or any individual either, but it's more universal.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier that it was easiest to escape from the cycle of incarnation if one was a human. So I'm wondering, what is it about being incarnated in human form that makes that possibility more likely? And what is it that beings or entities incarnated in non-human forms, sort of what can they do to facilitate their process other than becoming a human next time around?
By chance.
Is it good?
Yeah.
No. But we feel, according to the scripture, it says Chirasi, which means 8.4 billion life forms are there. 8.4 billion. Now, science can verify that or not. But so far, I feel the scripture has been subject to a lot of scientific also investigations and research, and there hasn't been anything that has proven not true scientifically. So the scripture says there are that many life forms, 8.4 million. And once you have gone through all that, then you gain the human form. And the human form is the one that, because of the mind, because God made man in his own image, right? He made it, give it the power, the brain, the intelligence to do the right thing. And it is in this form that we have the privilege of escaping. So that's all it is.
I have kind of a similar question as to, once you come into the human form, is it possible to knock yourself back down? If you're that crappy, you know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's where the conscience, Adam had the choice whether to eat that apple or not to eat that apple.
Mm,
Apple of sin. And
So
so,
don't do that.
Use the mind.
so it's that kind of thing that, yeah, but you have that privilege in this human form to escape that cycle and to unite and to have that eternal bliss kind of thing.
This scripture, I assume it's an English translation or
Yes,
strictly in it?
No.
And does it have the same meaning? You know, from your
Yeah,
vantage point, when you're reading it in its native language, so to speak,
yeah.
is
I
it
think you lose some of the
probably
context.
loses a little bit?
You lose the context. Translation is never close to the original, I guess. So you lose some of, but I think the essence, the fundamental you can get from it. And you can Google it, it's there in on the internet, the translation, you can research on it,
Okay.
and it's there.
And these hymns, I assume they have to be set to a certain music or you were
Yes.
talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Do they have recordings of any of that?
Let
You
me
can kinda
see
get
if I
the-
can play that one of the things to you, and it's like a prayer. We call it Simran. Simran is like you chanting the name of. Okay, this one. Again, all kinds of instruments are allowed. You know, there is nothing not to allow. You can see the congregation sings along.
That's nice. I assume you would have to sing it in that language, there's probably not an English translation.
Yeah, the singing,
So you would have to
because it
sing it
is
in that.
musical,
Yeah,
and the translation would not.
that just wouldn't work, yeah.
So I guess everybody kind of sits, and sometimes on the floor, or some can be chairs as well. So everybody participates. It is a different language, but it's easy to learn. It's easy. The words of the hymns are easy. Like I would learn Amazing Grace and
Right.
all those hymns. My dad, he used to get a magazine, Beads of Truth. I think it is attributed to Jehovah's Witnesses or something. And he used to read all these things to me when I was little, because we are supposed to learn any scripture. So,
So are you supposed to, I can't remember what it said on there, it said something about chanting the name of God. Is this something you're supposed to do as often as possible?
whenever you can, God is supposed to live with you all the time. You should have it in your mind all the time. Whether you sing it aloud or not, it doesn't matter. There is no specific times. Like in some faiths you are supposed to pray certain times. That's not part of our faith. Whenever you have time, you can pray.
And is it just one name or do you have several names? Is it just one name for God?
No,
There's
there's
several names.
It is several names. The most common it's out of love. It's like my child, I can call him by different
Right.
name of love. So God, but it's the same God. It's one God.
Right.
And we believe in that one God. We call it Father, the Lord, Vaheguru, Ram, and different names.
I've been curious for a long time, actually, and you mentioned that you were actually born in Africa because your father was a military officer and he was stationed in Africa at the time. The Sikhs had a long relationship with the British in the military capacity,
Yeah.
And anybody that's read Rudyard Kipling knows that. Yeah. Pops up all the time in the stories. How did that come to pass, and what kind of problems did it cause then? Because it's bound to have caused problems then, I would think.
You mean, well, the Sikhs were part of the British Army for a long time, and when they ruled over India, it's like they said, the sun never set over the British Empire.
Yeah.
They ruled the whole world kind of thing. And the British army in India, about 90% were Sikhs, even though they are just 2% of the population.
Isn't that the result of the Great Rebellion, when the Sikhs were the only loyal part of the army?
Exactly, because Sikhs were so much trusted.
And that made
And
a
they were so
huge
brave.
impression on the English, naturally.
And a lot of people don't know, but during the Second World War, a lot of Sikhs went into France, into Europe, to fight against the Germans. And lots of them died there, maybe in tens of thousands, because they were part of that British army. They were transported, just like to Africa. They were transported into Europe as well. And there are places in France where you would see the statues of Sikhs who died at certain places, like Charles de Gaulle and other places. Because they were so much trusted. They were like the Sherpas. The Sherpas in Nepalese, they're also like feared fighters.
The Gurkhas.
The Gurkhas.
They're very, very scary.
Yeah. So the Sikhs were like that.
Yeah.
And so the British really trusted them to go and accomplish missions. In one place in Kabul, the Battle of Alamo in San Antonio, where a certain band of Americans held together up to the last man. So there is a place in Afghanistan where exactly the same thing happened, that a Sikh battalion of about 30 people held off a massive onslaught of other people, and they all died. And so the Sikhs were like that.
Speak a little bit about the 5 requirements: the turban, the bracelet, the little sword, the comb.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting part
That's an
of your
interesting
history.
part. Okay. Now, the first 5 baptized Sikhs that the last Guru Gobind Singh brought out of the tent, and he gave them a uniform. He says, you're going to look like an army, a disciplined army, and so you're going to have these 5 symbols. One is to never cut your hair, because during those times, the ruler said only the chief of that village or the province could have a turban or a hair. Everybody else was shaved, to signify they were not. And the Guru said, all my Sikhs are going to be like chiefs. They're going to have that crown on their head. So that was one thing, is the hair and the turban. The second was this bracelet. And he says that signifies that there is a continuity in life. Life never ends. Learning never ends. It's a cycle. And plus, it is worn on the right hand mostly, that whatever you do, you remember that you're doing the right thing. So even if you're wielding a sword, you should not unjustly wield it. You should know where it's needed to be wielded. So that's the significance of it. Everything that he gave had a significance. It's not just another symbol or to wear or anything. Because the Gurus actually shunned all these rituals and false things. And the third thing he gave was a small sword. Well, at that time it was longer. He says it's a sign of courage to be able to defend. Then he gave a comb, a small comb that we keep. And he says that's a sign of cleanliness, that you should always have a bath every day, clean yourself, keep hygienic. You should not look rowdy, you should be very disciplined, just like you would have certain discipline in an army. So he gave a comb to everybody. And then he gave on undershorts, which is a sign of chastity, and to be ever ready. It was a long piece of shorts that were supposed to be worn all the time. Because Sikhs were battle ready, you never knew when the enemy is going to come. So you were always with these 5 things and you were ready.
And I read somewhere,
Mhm.
which may or may not be as authentic as what you said about that, the turban and that hair on the head and the turban was a protection from sword blows,
Yeah. Yeah.
as
this-
well as the bracelet.
Yes, yes, yes. And the old. Let me see. Ah, yeah. Like you see this guy here, he's wearing a little circle over his sword. That's how the original used to be, because when somebody is hitting you, and that actually protects you as well. You know, it's a piece of steel.
Kept
that
you
is
alive
like-
as a good soldier.
Yeah, kept you alive. There is a little joke that there were a few construction guys. Sikhs are good in construction as well. They're carpenters, and they were constructing a house. And this guy was throwing bricks like that, and the guy at the top was catching those bricks. So they were cutting. And by chance, that brick fell off. We couldn't catch it, so it fell, and it fell on a Sikh's head. But because he was wearing a big turban, it bounced off and it hit somebody else. And that somebody else died. Piece of protection.
Also, the thing I read, and it's been a long time, I was probably in college, but the turban was useful also because you could make a tent out of it
Yeah.
or use it in different ways
It,
to
you
make
could.
shade or sleep under or sleep on, or it's pretty versatile.
Yes, yes, it's a good piece of cloth, and sometimes it helps. Even some Sikhs have taken it off when the need be to use it for other purposes. And recently on YouTube there was an incident that somebody was drowning, and so some Sikhs were there, and so they took off their turbans, they tied knots onto, and they made a long kind of string out of it, and they pulled the guy out.
That's great.
Yeah, so it can be useful in certain situations. Yeah. Good. We are almost okay. These are some typical Sikhs. Like you can see there in basketball, there is a sheriff in Houston who's a Sikh. He's a Sikh policeman in Houston. And of course, I don't know this lady's name. She used to be in Dallas. Who? Mary Kay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that who's a used to be real estate, yeah. You see. So, and they're a basketball player or in, the walks of life. So, it's typical in Texas. Okay, I think that's all I have, but, I mean, we can carry on with some questions or something.
Thank you very much.
This is what you wanted to know about, right?
Really interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting.
It's a very young faith, and it doesn't believe in proselytizing or growing. It's like, if somebody want to go out of the faith, they are free to go. If they want to come in, they are free to come.
It sounds like it's almost the underpinning of all deeply spiritual pathways.
Exactly. It's
Like
like,
kind of the,
and all faiths are beautiful if they are taken from those basic, because whoever started them had pure things in their heart, but later on some things got extreme and corrupted, I guess.
I'm kind of wondering what if you do anything to make the public aware, and honestly, if the average person could do anything to make others aware that you have nothing to do with terrorists, what can be done in that, and what do you do for that?
Isn't it an irony that we get confused with something that we are totally opposed to and we are fought against? It's something that but it's because of the outward appearance.
And well, fear. It's
And the
because of
fear.
fear, yes.
But still, even the Muslims aren't terrorists.
Exactly.
Right, no, I'm
And
not talking about
community-
terrorists.
no,
So, yeah.
no community should be, there are a lot of good Muslims, but no community should be judged by what few people do.
So is there anything that Americans can do, people in the United States, is there anything they can do?
I think generally be aware, maybe generally educated about the different kinds of people in their neighborhood, in their communities, to actually go and learn about them, to learn and to say, okay, who are you, you know, why you look different, what is your belief system, what is it, you know, that way the fear, the prejudice will get removed.
Well, I thought that was interesting that 99% of people we see in turbans
Or six,
are Sikhs. So that's a little statement that can be made to make people aware.
that's good.
They're the good guys.
There is a very good documentary about the Gurdwara in Milwaukee's experience with people attacking it. That's hugely informative about the Sikh religion also.
Mhm.
And I wish they could, remember when I saw it, I think I saw it on television a couple of years ago, that could be shown places and it just tells you all the things you really need to know.
Exactly, yeah.
To disabuse people of this notion that led to that event happening.
And it's fortunate that those things come out of tragedies like that. That now that people are learning and they're knowing that hey, this community is a, you know, a different community and they're unique and they have a set of beliefs which, you know.
One thing they emphasized is the very positive reaction that the Gurdwara community had to the experience. They didn't respond with hatred or anything like that. They responded with love and information and opening up to people to find out more about them.
Exactly.
Which was exactly what needed to be done.
But didn't the community come forward to help
And the
them?
community came forward to help them then
In
too.
fact, it was one of the policemen, I forget his name, who actually defended, who, you know, and he was badly hurt and injured in that, defending the Sikh community. Sikhs really revere him and pay, you know, that's how all people should be. You know, once something is being done wrong to anybody, we all defend. I mean, what did Hitler do? He chose people one by one and, you know, that's the Holocaust happened that way. So unless we stand beside a persecuted community.
And then they came for me and there was no one
There was
left
nobody
to
else.
defend me.
Yeah. So it's